Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Gigabyte Aero 15. Now, this is a brand new refresh for 2021, and I'm excited to share it with all of you because, in my opinion, this may end up being the best option, at least for users like myself. Granted, I've been really enjoying the Asus G15 that I've been covering so far, and if you've followed my videos on that, you already know that's a really tough machine to beat. What we've got here are some advantages, though. So for me personally, as a content creator and a gamer, we've got some things that just aren't on that other machine. Granted, the CPU in here and GPU are not as powerful as what you're getting in that $1,800 Asus machine. You are getting a 15.6-inch 4K OLED display, of course color accurate, only 60 hertz, but if you're like me, you appreciate the 4K OLED panel. That's something actually that I absolutely pretty much want in every machine these days. I mean, it's just, once you go OLED, it's tough to go back. In addition to that, instead of that incredibly powerful, really top-of-the-line benchmark right now, Ryzen 9 CPU, we've got Intel's 10870H, which is also 8-core, and it doesn't benchmark as well, but there are some advantages, even though it's a little bit slower. But we'll see once I actually utilize the machine, obviously, and review it. 30% improvement is what Gigabyte is claiming on the thermals, and boy, I hope so, because that could arguably be the difference between this being what I hope it will be as opposed to what previous gens have been. I say that because previous generations really haven't had the ability to fully leverage the hardware, and that's one of the reasons I've stayed away from this specific model, is that they just have not had the ability to utilize. They were great on paper, but didn't have the ability to fully leverage all of that good stuff that they were packaging into it. So let's get this out of the box. Other things you need to know: this is the 3060 model. Now, the 3070 model will set you back, instead of 1600 US, you'll be jumping up to a whopping 2200. And yeah, you'll get 32 gigs of RAM rather than 16, but I don't believe the 16 that are on here, I don't think that anything is soldered, so that means user upgradable, unlike the Asus machine. So that's another thing to add in. The Asus machine does have one of the two DIMMs already soldered, which is not ideal, to say the least. And then we've also got I/O that just doesn't exist on the other machine. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, design, well, I mean, I don't think it's beautiful, but I don't think that the G15 is beautiful either. Build quality, I can already tell you, feels more solid on this machine immediately. Not even a question in my mind. But let me put this aside. What this is really all about is the I/O, the panel, and then still having hardware that, whilst on synthetic benchmarks it may not stand up to the Asus, that I'm basically going to be choosing between these two machines for myself personally. It has so many other things going for it. So, charger is in here, 230 watts. I don't know, I know Gigabyte is claiming 8 hours of battery life. A little bit of paperwork there. So I don't think we've got a quick charge capability. I didn't read anything about quick charge, but we'll see. I'll get there. Let me get this out of the way for now. Get the Gigabyte paperwork out of the way, and let's actually look at this bad boy. So, I'm actually going to get this completely out of the way. The ability to have two NVMEs in here is good, but there's more to it. We've got next-gen NVMe performance. That's another thing we don't get with the Asus, I'm pretty sure. Haven't confirmed that completely yet. Let's open this up. So, gloss finish on the display. It is Pantone certified for color accuracy. You do have a numerical keypad, something you do not get with the Asus. And we do have a webcam. And there is a privacy switch. It's still not where a webcam should be. I'll tell you that right now. This up-the-nose crap I don't get it, but hey, if that's where they had to stick it, that's where they had to stick it. So what is unique about this beyond what I've already mentioned? It's all about the display. It's all about the Intel and Nvidia pairing, which in some ways is better when it comes to software, because I can't tell you how much software out there is still optimized for Intel, and just because AMD is now really showing off capability, it doesn't mean that software is optimized for it. So before I even power it on, let's take a look at I/O on the right side of the machine. And this is part of the big appeal with this. We've got two USB Type A ports. Those are 3.2 Gen 1s. We have a Thunderbolt 3 port. Now this is something that, you know, I've been on the fence about giving up with the Asus G15. I don't really want to, but you know, if the G15 smokes this thing, the G15 will be the winner, obviously. But having Thunderbolt 3 for someone like me, that it will change my workflow, because I have a lot of NVMe drives like this guy right here, mass storage that, you know, anywhere from 2 to 8 terabytes. You're talking about 1.5, 1.3 gigabytes a second transfer. I don't really care as much about docking this with Thunderbolt 3 as I do about its capability. Now, it's not Thunderbolt 4, so no 8K out, at least per the spec on this machine, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe it can do it. A UHS 2 full-size SD card slot, thank you. I won't say God, because, you know, this was made in Taiwan. And then our DC input right there for charging. I'm going to be very curious about those charge times. All ventilation here, all ventilation on the bottom, and it looks to me like they really are trying to address the thermals. You can actually see the RAM right there, crucial. And that is something I would upgrade personally. But again, to get the $2,200 model, just to get a 1 terabyte NVMe and 32 gigs of RAM and a 3070, that 3070 better smoke the 3060. So we're going to find out. Big, again, on the I/O, HDMI 2.1. Now, this is not something you're going to find on the Asus G15. This is another thing that draws me in to this Gigabyte model. We also have a real, not a Type-C, not that there's anything wrong with the Type-C DisplayPort out. I like those. But a legitimate DisplayPort 1.4 output. So that's another good thing. And then yet another USB Type A port, again, 3.2 Gen 1, and then Ethernet. Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0. I'm not going to get into the Microsoft AI stuff. Let's boot this thing and see what the panel is all about. A little bit of wobble in the panel, more than the Asus, so that's one thing from a build quality standpoint, even though this does feel more solid than the Asus. I can tell you that right now. Keyboard, very similar. To me, there's no winner based on that. I do really like having a numerical keypad, though, on a machine this size, which is about 4.5 pounds, by the way. So let's go ahead and power it on. And also, it may actually need to be plugged in. You know, everyone always says, I get comments, it always has to be plugged in, Ed. That's not really true. It really depends on the manufacturer, in my experience. Now, I have the power supply right here, but I'm just curious from another machine that's 230 watts, but I'm curious if we go into the Thunderbolt 3 port, whether or not that will be enough to power it, because that's going to be a question I think many of you will have anyway. I mean, I generally like to make sure that I can still trickle charge machines like this. I will tell you right now, it is getting a little on my nerves that it's flopping around the display. It looks like it won't boot with the trickle, with the 65 watt Type-C. So that's already possibly a strike against this machine, because I was hoping that we would at least be able to charge via Type-C, even if it's trickle and we don't get full performance. So knowing that, it looks like I've got to go to the actual charger itself. So I'm going to see right now if I can make that happen for us. Let's see. I believe it is on the right side as well. I just showed you. By the way, fingerprint scanner right here on the Microsoft Precision trackpad. Trackpad is significantly smaller than the one on the Asus. So this is not going to work out. I was hoping this 230 watt would work. It looks like I'm going to have to go, bear with me, to the one that actually came with the machine, which is not a problem. It just takes a little bit longer. If I had one laying around, I would use it, but that one was proprietary. That was actually the one from the Asus G15, so that just goes to show you, you know, they are working with a proprietary pin assembly, which kind of leads me to believe that we're not going to see any quick charging out of this. I hope I'm wrong about that, but if there's no quick charging, that's going to be another one of those, you know, trade-offs on the list. But right now, so far, the only thing I'm not liking about what I see from this machine specifically is the floppy screen. I mean, that is the only thing I could tell you seems to be an issue. You know, the matte finish I would have preferred. By the way, I didn't mention, this does, Gigabyte likes to mention the fact that they have an extra layer of protection here. You can see that edge around the OLED panel. So we'll see what kind of difference that makes. So let me just see now if I can get this plugged in and we can actually see what we're working with. Just trace a wire here, so bear with me. I am actually just trying to find an open and available power port, which, you know, you might think is easy, but when you got so many electronics, it's not always so easy. All right, so now we're plugged in, and let's see what we've got. Now we should power on. And there we have it. So first thing you're going to notice is that RGB keyboard. I believe it's assignable. And the OLED display coming on. So far looks good. One of the things I really appreciate besides color accuracy from an OLED panel is that we don't have to worry about backlight bleed. It's not perfect. There are other things. A good example would be, you know, you can get banding still. For those of you concerned about burn-in, I really haven't seen any issues with Samsung OLED panels. LG panels and TVs, on the other hand, yeah, those can be burn-in nightmares. I can talk to you about that in another video. But for this one, you know, we're working with specifically a Samsung panel. So right now, looks good. I'm curious how much bloatware there's going to be. Not in love that we've got this little, you know, nub right at the actual charger. But again, I'm nitpicking early. And that's also understandable because the Asus is such a good machine that it's going to take quite a bit to make me walk away from it. So, so far, to reiterate, while this is booting, like that we have a numerical pad. If it can maintain similar thermals, then even if it on synthetic benchmarks can't achieve, which I don't expect it to, the performance of the G15, I might be swayed to go with this. I mean, if it's able to, you know, 4K video edit as well, if not better than the Asus G15, which it might, because, you know, I mentioned in my last update on that laptop that as powerful as it is, the AMD chipset doesn't seem to perform as well in video editing applications like Vegas or Adobe Premiere. So with that in mind, I'm expecting better performance from this, even though it doesn't benchmark as well. So that's number one. Number two, obviously the display. I think the panel on the G15, the 1440, the QHD, color accurate panel is nice. 165 hertz refresh rate, nice. But I personally prefer a 4K color accurate panel. It's just a different league. This also should be a little bit brighter than the panel on the Asus. In addition to that, we do have a webcam. Even if it may be a potato, there is a webcam. The switch, I'm not in love with the privacy switch. It's a little bit, it actually looks kind of crooked right now. So from a build quality perspective, that's not a win. I think it is really crooked. I don't know that I can actually, maybe I can straighten it out. Maybe I can't. But either way, the microphone array is right around it. Panel looks good right there on the first, you know, blue screen, not of death that we're getting. Fans are audible. That's going to be another big area that I'm going to be looking to. I wish this was touchscreen. It, of course, is not. But yeah, that's going to be another thing to see and to test because, ultimately, that's one of the beautiful things about the new G15 is that the fans, even when under load, are just a non-issue. So let me go ahead and connect. Bear with me. Take this out of frame for a second. And I'll get us to the desktop so at least, we don't get stuck here. And overall, if this is a winner, I'm going to be happy. I mean, again, I can't recommend the upgrade to that 3070 model just because the price is so outrageous. And as I always tell all of you, it's one of those things where, gaming laptops in general lose their value so quickly. You look at previous generations and then how big of a performance jump do you really get? And those are the things you have to take into account. But this is, I believe, a magnesium alloy or aluminum build, and it definitely feels better than the Asus. So, I mean, really what this comes down to is what do you need? And if at the end of the day you just want a gaming laptop, then I feel like I'm going to also do this. Why not? Actually, I can do I'll do it. If all you need is a gaming laptop, then the Asus probably is going to be the better pick, just because, from a at least synthetic benchmark standpoint, it delivers exactly that. If you're looking for the best of both worlds, this kind of reminds me of what I'm always looking for from a photographic standpoint with cameras, then this may be what you're looking for from a PC, because it is going to give you the best of both worlds. At least that's the idea for both gaming and content creation, which I don't see as a gimmick at all. Now, some people do. I'm not one of them. I'm skipping the fingerprint scanner update. I'm sorry there's so much off-camera stuff, but I just want to get you guys into, all of you, seeing what the display looks like. Probably even bounce over to YouTube because I'm going to try to get a comparison done with this, initial comparison to the Asus as quickly as possible, because I know many of you, like myself, are out there trying. I'm going through boring stuff here, by the way. It's just like, the Windows advertising crap and diagnostic data, which I don't partake in that club. But once I get it up to the screen, the actual desktop, which should be in another second, you're going to be able to see everything that you're looking to, which is including my background, which is a shot back from my days in NYC, which for those of you who follow my channel, you probably already know. I'm from New York, from Manhattan, but that's off topic. Another day. But it'll at least show you what that image looks like, which I get a lot of questions about that background, and it's just, I don't claim to be a professional photographer because I'm not, but it's been a hobby really since I was a child. So we're finally logging in. I can finally bring us back into frame. Sorry that took so long, but I like to do things in real time. And so far I like it. I mean, my initial impressions with it are positive. It's going to all be about the real world performance of it. I mean, the OLED so far looks great. The keyboard, I feel like, is a wash with the one on the Asus G15. Having the webcam, I mean, again, I expect the webcam to be potato quality. So I feel like that's why Asus figured they could get away with removing it altogether. And I understand that. When it comes to the NVMe, I'm getting this one out of here. So the 0.5 terabyte that's in there, I actually have this guy right here, which Sabrent just sent over for review. This is your next-gen NVMe, fastest in the business. So this is what I plan to drop into this Gigabyte. And that's another big advantage that this machine has over the Asus. It just, the Asus doesn't have that capability. It's one of those things, kind of like the Asus doesn't have HDMI 2.1. It doesn't have Thunderbolt. These are things that, some people care about, some people don't. You can see we're going through some updates right now. I care about those things. Now, right now, I can tell you the display looks great. It does look better than the Asus. What I can also tell you is the fans are louder already, instantly. Now, how much that's going to bother me, I don't know. It's because I'm not expecting this machine to be quiet, at least when it's working hard. When it's doing office-based stuff, then yeah, I expect it to stay somewhat silent. And that's what the Asus does pull off quite nicely. But this is one of the reasons. I mean, when I think of purchasing a brand new laptop here in 2021, and I keep talking about value of machines dropping off, and, it's just the truth of anything you buy in this world, but especially gaming laptops and, higher powered laptops as opposed to traditional Ultrabooks. Not having support, I know these suckers get really hot, okay, the Gen 4 NVMEs, but not having any capability tasking for my pin, so I'll just do, that's not going to work, is it? Look at me, I'm a scientist. Not that any of you are going to be hacking me at any point, but the whole point here is that, I don't know, it's just something about knowing that a machine exists that does check every box and it's not going to be my machine, that bothers me. So if this ends up benchmarking very similarly and outperforming, the display is already better, I can tell you that. But I knew that. It's an OLED that's color certified, and there are no little bugs with the BIOS, and that the install is fairly clean, then this is going to be the machine to own. Now let me make sure brightness is all the way up. This is my first Gigabyte laptop, by the way, as I move some dust out of here. It looks like brightness should be right there, which I'm wondering if I actually have to use the function. Yes, I do. The Azure AI, I'm not getting into. I mean, it's one of Gigabyte's claim to fame with this machine, but we'll see if that actually does really change performance in any true fashion. They're advertising here about the WindForce Infinity, the all-day battery life. They're claiming 8 hours. If this gets close to that, then they're going to have my attention, because right now that's what it looks like I'm able to get out of the Asus G15. Let's just look at this little video demo reel. Ooh, baby. And this is what it's all about. Is there any sound in this? Let's see. So no sound in this sample, but that's okay, because look at what we're looking at. Now, you're not getting the right angle, so I'm going to make it that you do get the right angle. And I'm going to drop. So this is as much as I can actually. This doesn't go flat. That's another thing. That's as far back as the display can actually go. But I know you're getting it. I know you are getting it. I mean, it's gorgeous. And this is part of the driving force of wanting this machine, is that you've got this sort of color, accuracy, richness, depth that just LCD can only dream about delivering. So, that didn't help us with audio, did it? No, thanks. Thanks, Gigabyte. I also think it's kind of refreshing that this is made in Taiwan. I mean, in a world where everything is made in China, granted, Vio, another favorite manufacturer of mine, does make everything by hand in Japan. It's kind of nice to see otherwise. So let's jump in, since this video is running long already. Let's go into Device Manager, and let's take a look at specifically the disk drive. See, I'm seeing the screen flop a little bit. I'm not in love with that floppy, that floppy panel. It's just, yeah. All right, so I'm going to have to Google that model number and see exactly what we're working with. But CPU, you already know, it's not going to perform like the Ryzen 9 5900HS, but it's going to be close, and that's what we're after here. Let's take a look at their control center software. And, you know, Asus does something very similar with their Armory, with their Crate. So, I mean, I kind of, you know, I expected something like this. So you can control everything from here. So your performance, your RGB lighting, everything. So app shortcuts, manager. I mean, Gigabyte knows what they're doing. It's a matter of what's going to happen with the thermals on this thing. And you can see device settings right there. Can basically, you know, on the fly, obviously change these things. But the question is, when I switch to quiet, how quiet is it? And guess what? Complete silence. So that's nice. And that is what I expected. And you have dedicated buttons for basically all of these things. I just wanted to show you that quickly. Smart utilities. And I'm going to get everything updated. This is already a 20, almost 6-minute video. The last thing I want to do is just, oh man, Microsoft Edge is just such a little, well, you fill in the blank. Let's go to YouTube. Got to get used to this keyboard a little bit. I will say that for sure. And let's go straight to some 4K HDR content and just see what the speakers sound like. I mean, if you've made it this far, why not finish the deal, right? Let's go the distance. All right, it's buffering a little bit. We're going to see what Wi-Fi performance is like too. Display is gorgeous, I can tell you that already. I think I said that already multiple times. The ad for Honey, though, can go fuck itself. Sorry for that language. It's just coming out of me sometimes. Panel looks good. Audio, let's also make sure we're all the way up because, yeah, we are. So, speakers aren't that loud. Tell you right now, the G15, definitely the louder machine. And again, the angle is not doing this justice. Let me fix that for you right now. And it's just my lighting and the camera perspective. I am holding this, sorry for any shake. And if you don't like reptiles, there's not much I can do for you. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm in love with them. I mean, don't get the wrong message. Or spiders, or anything else. Looks good, I have to tell you. So the machine's looking good. It's time for me to do what I do. It's time to install software. It's time to do some benchmarking. It's time to get the Nvidia drivers up to date, make sure that the BIOS is where it needs to be. And I'm going to probably do an update today so that anyone who's been wondering, like me, because this is, I'm driven to satisfy myself here and all of you, in case you didn't put that together yet, because this is the machine. It's probably going to be this, the main gear element, top spec from last generation, or of course the Asus Zephyrus G15 that I've been covering. It's going to be one of those three machines that's going to become my portable workstation. So I'll be updating all of you, but on paper, this thing is nearly perfect, but we know how that works out. How many sports teams are great on paper and then they end up in last place? Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them, hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe and please stay safe. Later.